I'm Andy Katz from ESPN, along with my co-host Seth Greenberg. On the latest edition of the ESPN College Basketball Podcast, we are going to discuss the notice of allegations at Louisville and Seth Greenberg on a tour around the country. Go to the ESPN app and click on the headphone icon to get our podcast.
Attention.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show.
Dan looks terribly puffy and hungover. Yep.
Dan Le Batard.
I haven't been paying attention to sports at all.
Stugotz.
Get with it, Dip.
Greg Cote.
Hello.
This is the real base.
How excited are you, Cote? You've got the book in front of you. How excited are you about the idea that the Goat Man is going to be on with us?
I am, for one reason. As a kid, one of my nicknames was Greg Goat.
Base is pumping.
Greg Cote says to me before the show starts, man, that Mickey Mouse was really popular. I'm going to try and find a way to sneak it in during the show today. And I'm like, don't force it.
I'm an 88-year-old mouse. They still have me wearing little boy pants. I'm trying to talk him into wearing a nice pair of gabardine slacks. Minnie, bring Daddy another scotch.
I'm a people person. And the bigger the celebrity is, the more I act like I'm not impressed by who they are.
That's how you have to do it. You're right.
Yeah. They don't want you to fawn all over them.
Yeah.
You know, that's the last thing you do when you go up to a celebrity is like, oh, I loved you in, Mr. Doubtfire. You go up to an actor, you act like you don't know who it is. They like that.
Ms. Doubtfire.
Whatever.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Hello.
Greg Cote of the Miami Herald, show destroyer, in with us. He's got to pay at the grid of death today, so he has to drink an entire 32-ounce jar of pickle juice straight from the jar filled with pickles. Has to drink all of the pickle juice. A tweeter writes in, we do an hour locally before we do the national show at Le Batard Show. Greg Cote was talking about Jose Fernandez and his legacy. Then it went to commercial. What happened?
You don't get the show.
For those of you who are new to the gathering, Greg Cote has been taught about what the clocks are at the end of every hour for about 3 years. He learns nothing. I wore a clock on my head for a while. It doesn't matter. And so at this point, we try to get him at the end of every hour where he's talking and talking and talking, and then we just clip him. And it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. That overrides all.
Yes.
Does not matter how serious it is, because many of you are writing in that was wrong what we just did to Greg Cote. And what I'm telling you is the rule around here is it overrides all. That clock overrides whatever is being talked about. And if he gets clipped, it's his own fault. And furthermore, nobody was even trying to get him there. The people in the back room were counting him down with fingers for 40 seconds, counting him down, and he paid them no mind and just kept on yammering.
Thank you for pointing that out, because people are getting on us for doing that, and we were trying to count him down for 45 seconds. Like, we weren't trying to get you there.
Right. I was distracted by the seriousness of the conversation.
Be careful, please. You're going to spill pickle juice all over the place. Go ahead and take a sip of that on air.
Fine.
Please just take a sip of that before you start spilling it.
Wow.
Wow, he chugged it right there.
Big sip, Greg.
Wow, that is good.
Are you going to get sick of it, do you think? Do you think by the end?
It's an extreme possibility.
All right. He is sucking pickle juice straight out of the jar.
Well, I'm a saltaholic, and there's so much sodium in pickle juice, I'm guessing. Let me look. Well, 270 milligrams. That's not that bad.
Okay. That sounds like it's pretty bad.
Tastes saltier than it is, which I love.
I think 270. Go ahead and put that up there on the poll, Guillermo. Is 270 milligrams of salt a lot? Because it sounds like a lot. Wow, Cote just pushing his way through.
I can't get enough of this stuff.
So we were talking about Jose Fernandez, though, because many of you are accusing me of protecting him, and I don't know how to say this other than there is no protecting him at this point. The man is dead. And so I'm not trying to clean up his legacy. I'm not trying to apologize for him. I just don't care that a toxicology report has revealed that he was doing cocaine that night, because I'm not interested in the blame portions of this. I'm not interested in having to announce he should have been more responsible. Right. He's dead, and that's final. I don't need clarifiers or qualifiers that make it more okay that he's dead because he had a hand in his own death. it remains maximum tragic to me, and the details don't much matter.
We've discussed this a lot, and I'm completely with you. I think what people would say, Dan, is I don't think they're saying, hey, he did it, he deserved it, whatever. I think what people are trying to say is if they had Jose Fernandez's life and his future, that they'd like to think that that's a spot they would never put themselves in.
Okay.
Like you're sitting on a $250 million contract.
That's all fine. Like, here's the thing I won't object to. If you say that it's reckless, okay. And if you say that he wasn't blameless, okay. None of it fixes anything.
No.
Like, I don't mean to be nihilistic about this, but the need to place blame on him does what exactly? The need to point out that he was reckless seems self-evident. And makes it no less tragic. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all. Well, I'm not forgiving it. Mm-hmm. I'm just not blaming him because it doesn't make me feel any better to blame him because he was a young kid doing something stupid and reckless with freedom he risked his life to find. Mm-hmm. To me, it just hurts all the more that the life is extinguished because of freedoms that he wouldn't have had in Cuba to get cocaine.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of the point I made in my column was writing that he was, in some ways, an all-American story in death as in life because it was an example of American excess, of him partaking in freedoms that he might not have had in a more impoverished life in Cuba. And that's part of the Jose Fernandez story. It's not a matter of wanting to tell it or needing to tell it. It's just the complete picture of who Jose Fernandez was. And it doesn't make the tragedy any less, for sure. In some ways, it makes it worse for me because it just didn't have to happen.
No, but here's the thing, though, Greg. Because I'm all for more information, and I'm all for the complete details. I'm not interested in scrubbing personality or legacy to make this guy more of a myth or more of a saint than he actually was. What I am telling you is that when you give me all of the complete details and information, it changes not one thing for me. And what I am condemning is the people that it does change something for. Because you're not really and actually grieving if that is something that can make your grief even 1% worse. Mm-hmm. Your grief is at the maximum because it's a horrible story.
Right.
It doesn't make it any worse. It's the same.
But, Dan, you understand, like what the people are saying is when you get in a boat under the influence of cocaine, and I know you understand this, cocaine and alcohol, you're increasing the probability of something tragic happening to you.
It's right, and it's still random. And there are plenty of people who have driven by that jetty in a boat on cocaine and have not had that happen to them.
Right. Yeah, probably the vast majority. Look, nothing changes the if you're Jose Fernandez's mother or grandmother or somebody who was a loved one of his, obviously nothing is going to make the tragedy worse or make you hurt an iota less. But if you knew Jose Fernandez from afar, if you're a casual Marlins fan, for example, maybe it does change it a little bit. And that doesn't make Jose any less of what he was, but maybe as a casual Marlins fan, you do sort of shake your head and go, wow, man, this didn't have to happen.
Okay,
That's all.
But here's what I'm telling you. This is what I'm saying. If I grant you that, if I say to you, maybe it does make it a little bit worse for a Marlins fan who has had the mythology destroyed because somehow, for some reason, he thought an athlete was pure and mythological and a god, a utopian god. If it does do that to you, then what you're doing by doing that is somehow making it a little bit worse for the family. Because now it's not bad enough that he's dead. Now he's dead and you think ill of him. Now you're creating a scenario where you're putting on him blame for this having happened. So if I concede to you the front end of that you're allowed to make that judgment, the only people you're harming by making that judgment is a family who would like to remember their dead son in a way that is better than you're now remembering.
I would call it responsibility more than blame, but you can't blame the toxicology report. You can't blame the media for reporting the toxicology report, and you can't blame any Marlins fan who might be thinking slightly different contextually of this story. because it's the reality. That's, what we've learned over the weekend is Jose Fernandez's new reality, and it's just a question of how much weight you put on it. I still look at him very favorably. I hope they build a statue of the kid in front of the stadium.
They will.
And I think that's still fitting. Name a street after him, whatever. None of that changes for me, but the context of the Jose Fernandez story takes on this little shadow. That's it.
I think I'm coming around to Greg's side on this. I do. I think it absolutely. I think, yeah, I could see why, and I'm starting to feel differently about it. It was jarring to me when I learned that Jose Fernandez, because of the picture that was painted of Jose Fernandez, mom, grandmother, family guy.
Man, but you guys need to
Dan,
stop that.
The alcohol wasn't jarring.
You guys need to stop this sucker stuff with these athletes and their images, man. This one's on you. Like, you did this whole betrayal thing with Tiger Woods. Like, knock it off. Like, athletes behave like rock stars. Like, what are you doing?
I know, but when there are certain pictures, whether it's through the media or through marketing, in the case of Tiger Woods, when they have painted
take responsibility for yourself and how you absorb that image making. Christ almighty, stop feeling betrayed by it. Like, it's part of the commercial appeal of sports. Like, I mean, you guys are going to keep doing this one through the end of time?
I'm not.
Okay, they're not humans. They're saints.
No,
they're mythological gods and saints.
No,
who don't do. I mean, no, that's what you guys do when you buy into these commercials. Like, stop doing that.
Look, I'm not stereotyping athletes to think that all of them beat their wives, all of them are serial, infidels like Tiger was. All of them use cocaine. I just don't buy that. And so when you find out that the one who has just died tragically has used cocaine, yeah, I hope I'm never to a point where I just accept that as the norm. I don't think it's the norm.
A senseless tragedy obviously feels different, Dan, for a lot of people than one that many people perceive could have been prevented if he wasn't doing certain things.
I think you guys would be really stunned at how many people in hockey are using cocaine and how many people in baseball where they don't test for cocaine are using cocaine, where they have to play 162 games. They have to play 162 games and they're all super tired. I think you guys would be floored if I actually went in there, dug deep, and got you in on the reality of what's actually happening there, that the union protects all of these baseball players, none of whom can be tested for it. And the only time we find out if one of them was doing cocaine is in an incident like this or if the police pull you over. Like, I think you guys would be floored by the number of people actually doing this. And I would say that it's on you you want information about the toxicology report for not being properly informed on what it is that's happening around you. They don't test in baseball for cocaine. They don't test for marijuana in baseball. I think if it was marijuana, would it change it? Because now you guys are going to do these gradations and these degrees on these things where you're not shocked by the alcohol because the government has made that randomly legal, but you're shocked by the cocaine because the government has made that randomly illegal. So where's marijuana fall?
It would still, I guess, not as bad as cocaine, obviously, right. But I guess, yeah, I would perceive it differently.
I mean, I think the difference between us is that I think him having cocaine in his system and a toxicology report is a big deal, and you don't.
Molly? I just think it's Miami, man. It's Miami.
Well, I reject that.
It's a combination of factors, man. It's the alcohol, it's the cocaine, it's going out on the boat in the middle of the night. It's all of that.
It's reckless. Who's disputing that? Who is disputing that? I'm not.
But, Dan, if you take the cocaine and alcohol away from the equation, maybe he doesn't get on the boat.
Okay. And maybe that could have happened when he was sober because it's really dark over there. Yeah. And then where are we? And what difference does it make? He's dead.
It completes the picture posthumously, doesn't it? It completes the picture of who Jose Fernandez was, and it doesn't make him a bad person. Maybe it shouldn't even change the way we think of it.
No. See, that's the leap. That's where I object to the leap. No. I do believe that it's where people arrive, that it makes him a bad person who deserved what happened to him. That's the leap.
Wow.
Yes, that is the leap that I am objecting to.
You think people are making a leap? Like, okay, he did cocaine, therefore he's a bad person?
Yes, just like you made him a good person because you didn't know anything other than he threw 95 miles an hour. Just like you made him a good person, now you have this one detail that allows you to make him a bad person.
But I'm not saying it makes him a bad person. It changes the way I receive the news of his death. That's all, slightly.
All it does is make him human.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. Stop making him saints.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. In November, Progressive will give away over 100 vehicles to veterans in need as part of its Keys to Progress program, giving thanks for the freedom they've given us. To learn more, go to progressive.com/keys to progress. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage, by Quicken Loans. Call 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com today. Here's your SportsCenter update. Bears over the Vikings 20-10 last night on Monday Night Football. Vikings fall to 5-2 after a 5-0 start. Bears improve to 2-6. World Series resumes tonight. Game 6, Indians and Cubs. Josh Tomlin for Cleveland, Jake Arrieta for the Cubs. Cleveland with a 3-2 series lead, 8 Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
More than Stu from the Clevelander on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me.
Stugotz.
I just enjoy a penthouse view.
Cody just bailed.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
The World Series is on ESPN Radio. Catch all the action at 7 p.m. Eastern, presented by AutoZone on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. Greg Cote, giving the Straight Talk, is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, half the cost.
Mike, you know what was super surprising that segment? Mike Ryan said in my headphones, he doesn't do a lot of talking in my headphones. He's too busy talking too loudly in Stugotz's too loud headphones. He said to me, tone warning. Long after I deserved a $5 fine for my tone, Mike issued a tone warning. I get fined $5 every time my tone is bad. But what was weird about that is nobody on the text was complaining about that, which usually they jump right in to penalize me and charge me money. Nobody was complaining about my tone, but I know my tone was bad in that first segment. So I've paid $5. Greg Cote didn't realize that there were 20 servings in the pickle juice, not one serving. So he's not having 270 milligrams of sodium. He is having...
It's 5,400 milligrams. The recommended daily consumption of sodium is 2,200 milligrams.
So he's got the grit of death, and he's almost done with that pickle juice. He has sucked it down.
So good.
Does that include the pickles, though? I'll tell you what's going to be bad in terms of sodium count. The A1 since day one on Grid 4.0, where you have to consume an entire 12 fluid ounce bottle of A1 steak sauce.
Oh, but this kind of stinks because Stan's right. It appears this is an easy one for Cody. Like he is.
Well, we didn't know that
done.
though. We were all regretting. Yeah. We were all fearing this. But Mike's right that the sodium probably includes the pickles, which he doesn't have to eat the giant pickles.
Now he made the decision to get pickle juice that also has garlic, cut up, diced garlic cloves in there. So that's a part of the fluid. He has to finish that too. So his breath is going to be kicking a little bit, but he's almost done.
Yeah, he's almost done.
I think he's got 4 fluid ounces left.
What's it going to take for you guys to realize that these eating things are dumb? The hospitalization obviously wasn't it. So is someone going to have to die? Is that what it is?
What are you talking about, though? Greg's having a super easy time with the pickle juice.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, he's almost finished with the pickle juice 30 minutes into the show.
Those little garlic chunks are killer, man. Those are great.
Luis Guzman is going to join us here in about 10 minutes. Put that up on the poll, Guillermo. Do you know who Luis Guzman is?
Poll is brought to you by Cabbage. That is Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, supporting small businesses with on-the-spot access to funding. Visit CabbageWithAK.com today.
At Le Batard Show on Twitter. Do you know who Luis Guzman is?
I was a little worried about this guest booking because I like him. I like his movies. Dan's talked about him several times, but he's not one of those guys that you know by name. He's one of those guys that you know by face.
You do know him by face, for sure. Because if Guillermo, can you do this on the poll as well? Let that sit for a minute. Do you know who Luis Guzman is? And then just put a photo of him up and write, do you know who this is? because I assure you that you're going to get two very different answers
totally.
to that question, because you will absolutely know who that is.
Yeah.
This guy might be the winner of any contest of that guy. You know him when you see him, but you do not know him by name. And if I put him in front of you, all of you would be like, yeah, I know that guy. Yep. And you'd say, that's that guy. Mm-hmm. You would not know him by name. You would not know what to refer to him as.
Yeah. I had no idea who he was by name, but I just Googled his photo, and I'm like, oh, yeah, of course.
I'm not going to tell
before
you.
the show, who is that guy?
Right.
You asked me.
A texter writes in here in regards to this Jose Fernandez conversation that we're having. Because I do believe, while you guys hear argument here, I believe the core of the discussion that we're having is this. And this is why I'm uncomfortable with what it is that you guys are saying and filing it under the umbrella of, well, I've got a more complete picture now. The crux of this for me, because if you were listening to this show, I told you this was all going to happen. All of it was going to happen. It doesn't change anything for me, that toxicology report, and it does for you. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. You're allowed. But what I'm telling you is, for me, it's the same story. And the grief is the same. It doesn't change anything. Mm-hmm. And it feels to me like you guys now have information that changes the grief somehow for you.
Mm-hmm. But perhaps you've had that information a lot longer than the public has and have had time to process it. Whereas if you're just finding out about it and it's hitting you like a slap in the face on Saturday, it's still new. You're still trying to place it in some sort of a context. All it is for me is a small shadow on his legacy. It doesn't change how I feel about him. It doesn't change how great he was for the Marlins, how heroic he was for a lot of South Florida. None of that changes, but it is a little bit of a factor in how you view the entire man.
Dan, if after the show today I die of a heart attack, naturally you're going to feel bad. If it comes out days later that I had been doing cocaine for 3 consecutive days and that contributed to why...
It changes nothing for me. It's still... That's what I'm telling you guys.
You wouldn't be like, Stugotz.
No, Stugotz.
You got a wife. You got kids. You got a future. What are you doing?
Do you know how we view you?
Yeah. Fine. Okay, forget it. Make it Greg. Make it anybody.
No, but this is why that's a perfect way of putting it, because this texter writes in, this is what's happening with the two of you right now. It allows us to rationalize why a tragedy happened and point a finger at what was the cause, i.e. drugs. Without it, we are forced to acknowledge our own fragile mortality. There is soothing in being able to blame him for this.
Right.
Because in not being able to blame something for this is just to have life be unspeakably cruel and that it can happen to anyone we care about.
But I don't think we're blaming him for it. There are levels of sadness. Like if someone dies when they're 90 years old, they've lived a full life. You hear, they lived a full life. Sign me up for 90 right now. There are levels of sadness. No one's blaming him.
To me, there aren't levels of sadness. To me,
maybe not for you.
To me, but what I'm saying is you can grieve a maximum level of grieving and also be disappointed in him. You can be, and it doesn't change the grief. The grief is at the maximum level. Luis Guzman next.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
Can I ask you a question, Cody? I don't know why I start sentences that way when I'm just going to ask you the question no matter what you say.
Stugotz.
What if I said no?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Luis Guzman, actor, going to join us here in just a minute on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline for the best total engine protection you can get. Here's your SportsCenter update. Bears over the Vikings, 20-10 last night. Monday Night Football. Vikings fall to 5-2 after a 5-0 start. Bears improved to 2-6. World Series resumes tonight, Game 6. Indians and Cubs, Josh Tomlin, Jake Arrieta, Cleveland with a 3-2 series lead, 8 Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio. And finally, a fart sparked fire during surgery in Japan. It started when the patient's intestinal gas ignited a laser that was being used in the procedure. The patient survived. For a truly mind-blowing underwear experience, switch to Tommy John, the 21st century men's underwear backed by the best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee. Save 20% on your first order with promo code Miami at TommyJohn.com. That's TommyJohn.com. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Need to amend something I said last segment because you guys took it to mean there are no levels of sadness. Clearly, there are levels of sadness depending on how close someone is to you. I was saying that as it regards this, when you're on the outside with Jose Fernandez, you're a fan viewing it. You don't have an attachment that's real to the human being. There aren't levels of sadness as it regards this circumstance when you're not connected to the person is what I meant. So Luis Guzman with us now. You can see him on Code Black Wednesdays, 10 p.m. on CBS. Thank you, Luis, for making time for us. I'm curious. We were just talking before you came on. We feel like you are that guy. You are the guy everyone recognizes if they see you, and yet they might not know your name. So what percentage of people do you meet who know you, who feel like they know you from the movies, from the things that you've been in, Carlito's Way, Boogie Nights, Narcos? What percentage of people actually know you by name?
I think at this point it's 60-40.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That know my name. It's interesting because last week this man stopped me with his son. Said, "Hey, can you take a picture with my son?" And I go, "Sure." And the guy goes, "What's your name?" And I go, "Marlon Brando." And he goes, "Oh, cool." And then he goes, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" "Yeah." And he walks away and he says, "Thank you, Mr. Brando." But sometimes I have fun like that. Sometimes I have fun like that, But, I guess for the most part, people do know my name. But I get called Mama a lot now because of Code Black. That's what I'm referred to on the show.
Well, what do most people want to talk to you about? Which role is the one they want to talk to you about most?
Interesting. People love talking about the Count of Monte Cristo. Once in a while, people like talking about my role as Radames in Waiting. And it varies, man. I mean, people love my role in Anger Management, my role as Pachanga and Carlito's Way. It depends, man. I mean, it could be any, but I get it pretty much across the board, just different ones.
Boogie Nights was kind of an accident, right? I read where it was sitting in your office for a long time, and you only happened upon Boogie Nights when you started cleaning up your office.
Yeah, that's true. Paul Thomas Anderson had sent me Boogie Nights, and I just didn't know who he was, and I don't know, I just was preoccupied with stuff, and I put it in my office, and 6 months later I said, okay, maybe today's the day that I clean everything up here, and I found it in the bottom of a pile, and I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down, and I called them up, and I said, oh my God, are they going to let you do this movie? Because it was pretty spot on and hardcore, man, and, I was really, really impressed by the writing and the whole description, and how he captured that era so well. And it comes out that I'm having this conversation, and I ask him, how old are you? And he goes, he said something, and he goes, I'm sorry, did you say 34? He said, no, I'm 24. And that blew me away. I said, this man is genius.
Luis Guzman with us here on ESPN Radio. Again, you can see him on Code Black Wednesdays, 10 p.m. on CBS. What do you believe is the best movie you've been in? What's the one you enjoy watching the most?
Oh, man. I'll be honest with you. I've had an incredible career, and I'll tell you what they are, because it's more than one. Carlito's Way, Boogie Nights, Punch Drunk Love, Magnolia, Traffic, Out of Sight, Salami, The Count of Monte Cristo.
Luis, it's got to be. You can't pick all of them, Luis. You can't pick all the popular ones you've been in. The one that you're going to stop on most often if it's on the television in your hotel room.
Man,
Traffic. Carlitos.
It has to be all. It has,
Carlitos.
you know when they say that you have an abundance of riches, that's a good problem to have. And I can't. I mean, look, I love The Count of Monte Cristo because it was such a great, passionate movie. But like I said, I also love Junk Love, and I love Traffic, and I love watching Journey to the Mysterious Island. So you're not going to get just one out of me. Sorry.
What's the one that makes you change the channel immediately?
Yes, the one that makes you wince and hide under the bed.
Okay. Let's see. Which one was that?
Is that a long list too?
Luis,
is that a long list too? Can you give us a long list there of 5 or 6 of them?
No. It might be something that I did, God knows how many years ago, that I can't even remember. So I'm not going to say. I'm just going to keep it positive.
Luis, you've said that one of your bad habits is occasionally buying stuff that you really don't need. When you first came into money from acting, what was one or two of the purchases you made that you look back on and go, wow, why'd I do that?
I think I went clothes shopping one time, and I went crazy. And I came home, and I called my sister up, and I said, yo, what you see what I bought? And every time I come out of my bedroom, and she's watching in the living room, and she's like, and it's like, you don't like any of this. And she goes, no, it's just not you. So I ended up giving away like $2,500 worth of clothes.
Just what happened? You just bought? Because you're not.
I think the sales guy just kind of suckered me into, oh, you look great in that. Oh, you look great in that. And it's like, okay, all right, great. So,
well, how often does Luis Guzman feel on his own like he looks great in that?
Nowadays, quite a bit, because it's like I figured it out, Let me tell you, the hardest thing sometimes is shopping for yourself, and then sometimes you kick yourself in the butt because, like, I really didn't need to get that like that, So I kind of eliminated that, So, and plus, sometimes I take somebody with me, that's going to give me the true advice, and you got to do it, I mean, come on, you guys can't tell me you never did something like that, and you said, what was I thinking?
Oh, yeah, all the time. You can see him on Code Black Wednesdays, 10 p.m. CBS, Luis Guzman. I'm Hispanic. You're Hispanic. I feel like there are 4 Hispanic actors that get all the roles. You, Leguizamo, and sometimes they give one to Benjamin Bratt. I don't know what his ethnicity is, and that's about it. Is there anyone else? Who else am I missing that gets anyone? They'll give George Lopez all the comedy specials.
Jimmy Smith, who's great.
Oh, yeah, but that's
Vinny Laresca, who's working on that cop show with J-Lo in New York.
But you guys all run into each other at the auditions? Do you guys, is it the same 5 guys at every audition for a Latin guy in Hollywood?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't audition.
Nice.
I just get offered stuff.
Yes. Luis! Yeah. Luis, Bobby! Yeah. Bobby Luis!
You know what I'm saying? So
I know what you're saying. Luis does not audition. When did that happen? Where you just, hey, if you want me, call my agent?
Oh man, I gotta say that must have happened.
Nice.
Like 22 years ago.
Wow, Luis, way to go.
Nice.
Gangster.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So,
Gangster number 2.
That's also a tribute to your work. You know what I'm saying? It's like in anything, when you're starting out and you got a carpentry job, and you build a reputation, you're going to be the go-to guy. The same thing goes for myself as an actor, People see your body of work, and I want that guy, and, so you grow. You grow like that, so.
Gracias.
I'm really proud of it, I'm really proud of it.
Thank you, sir. Code Black, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. on CBS. Good talking to you. Thanks for making the time, Luis.
Thank you, guys, and have a great day. And I love doing the show, so check it out.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. More Dan and Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Ferguson, the right people, the right products, right around the corner. Visit Ferguson.com today.
Dan Dan Le Batard.
Our show's brown. We got Guillermo, Mike, and I are brown. Roy is black. Stugotz, Chris, and Cody are white. So our median is brown.
Stugotz.
And the brown guys, when you pronounce it Laraniega with the Enye, which is just a bit of pandering that he did here, the brown guys make the faces of people who are smelling something bad.
Why?
Because it sounds ridiculous, first of all.
Really?
Yes, but it sounds doubly so coming out of your mouth.
Laraniega.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get in touch with the show anytime through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, at Le Batard Show, at Stugotz790, at Greg Cote. You know what's always in season? Surprising a friend or loved one with a fresh bouquet from 1-800-Flowers. They get vibrant bouquets starting at just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Danny Trejo would also be at these auditions if the five Latin actors Hollywood uses. Guillermo, put it on the poll. How did you feel about that? Good or bad? The Luis Guzman interview. I did like one portion of it. I can't believe I forgot to ask him about appearing on Monday Night Raw. That's my fault. Texter writes in, LOL, Dan. Luis meant he loved doing his Code Black show, and Dan said thank you like he heard I love doing your show. I was just trying to get out there. But I did say thank you as if he was complimenting our show, that he loved doing this show.
I experienced it the same way, but it makes you feel better, which it probably doesn't. It makes you feel worse, right?
That's correct. You are a very poor ally on this. All right, so Greg Cote is almost finished with his pickle juice. He is almost done drinking a jar of pickle juice. The grid of death. Here's what happens. There was one thing left on the worst. The worst thing was left on the grid of death. It was what's that wrestler's name?
Dogface Gremlin was left on grid 3.0. Rick Steiner. You would have to dress like Rick Steiner. So a very revealing singlet, a dog collar, and ear guards would be what you'd have to wear.
It's awful, and we had 4 losers this week.
Right, so we had 4 losers and one thing left on the grid, so we had to draw straws to see who it is that would end up with the one thing on the grid. We were all hoping for a mean. We thought it'd be funny to see a mean in the wrestling singlet, but this grid of death continues to poison its maker. Mike Ryan picked the worst straw, so Mike Ryan and his pepperoni nipples will be...
Mike Ryan didn't really pick a straw. He was going to pick a straw that would have seen him not have to be Rick Steiner. Dan just interjected in the middle of the drawing and decided he was going to pick for Amin, picking the opposite straw that I was going to pick, and therefore Amin's not having to dress like Rick Steiner. I am. So thank you, Dan.
Well, I tried to stop it, Mike. I did.
Know.
That's on you. I mean, you got to speak up.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. But if he weren't such a bully and just thought he could just run roughshod over everything.
If he picked the opposite straw, then you would have ended up with the same straw.
No, I was going to pick the one that was longer.
Oh, okay, very good. Very good. You were going to pick the right one, is what you were saying. Okay, very good.
The one on the outside.
Right, you were going to pick the one that was going to end up with you not in a wrestling
the one that would have
singlet.
ended up with me eating a taquito.
All right, so what are the other 3 things that have been selected? Greg Cote doesn't mind these eating challenges. He thought he had one of the worst ones. I thought orange juice and mayonnaise. And you've got a stomach of steel, man.
Well, this is much easier than the mayo was. I will say that.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not feeling anything right now? I mean...
A little salty, maybe.
Well, since Grid 3 has been exhausted, we move on now to Grid 4.0. In the order of which the straws were drawn, Roy has selected Taquito Tuesday. He has to eat a whole taquito from a gas station. And Stu, surprisingly, has selected the Def Poetry Jam. He has to do a 2-minute Def Poetry Jam covering the week in sports.
So these are the easiest things. Right now, this is the easiest stuff that's left on the grid.
Yeah, we flipped over.
It's
grids.
a new grid.
Right,
it's a new grid.
So the easiest things, are always going to be what's taken off. I'm a little surprised at the Def Poetry Jam selection, but all right, that's off the board. We're waiting to hear back from Amin to see what he's elected.
Is Gary Sheffield going to join us? Do we know?
No, we have decided against Gary.
Okay, so who's going to be on the show today? I should probably know that instead of asking you. Is it just Ron McGill?
See you guys.
Tim Legler joining us at 12:30 p.m.
Oh, that's right, to recap Halloween. Does Greg Cote do anything for Halloween? Do you like the idea of imagining Cote in a Halloween costume in his neighborhood? I love the idea of a costumed Greg Cote.
Well, on Twitter last evening, I posted me wearing a horse's head.
I have you just sitting outside the garage drinking beer, handing candy to kids. Is that?
No, I am in my garage drinking beer and smoking a cigar, diverting the kids to the...
Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN Radio.
College football lives here. After a 1-3 start, USC has won 4 straight and have their sights set on defending their Pac-12 South title.
Slash back at the 5, touchdown, Trojans.
Up next, Oregon comes to the Coliseum, averaging over 40 points per game.
Sudden change, big play for the Ducks, they take over.
Coverage begins Saturday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, presented by Dr. Pepper.
Scott Burnside, ESPN.com here on the latest edition of Hockey Today, the podcast. We hear from Steve Ott of the Red Hot Detroit Red Wings, and James Van Riemsdyk of the Toronto Maple Leafs joins us as well. You can find it under the Listen tab on your ESPN app.
Oregon brings an offense averaging over 40 points per game into the Coliseum to face the red-hot USC Trojans. Coverage begins Saturday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, presented by Dr. Pepper.